Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and I thought I would take you on a little journey up to my attic studio today, just for you to see the stairs I climb and all the bits and pieces and the detritus in my life and having to find places to store things and everything else. So this is my entrance, the thing that greets me most days as I come into my artist's studio, as they say. So I have been trying to have a little bit of a clear out recently, and this is what presents to me every time I come in and where I work. Some of you have seen this before, my workspace, and I have some lights which I can put on. There we go, and here we are in the studio itself. I have been trying to tidy up a little bit recently and getting things sorted out, but these are all the unfinished projects which eventually one day I will try to finish. It's very difficult getting things together, as you can see, but yeah, some things I have taken away and they are stored in other parts of the house, like my big skyship and the most recent one which I did, which was the Chimera Marauder, which is again stored in another part of the house. It's just really to give me some space up here where I'm working, and where I'm working today is trying to complete another project which I started some time ago, which I will reveal to you in rather dramatic fashion. Turn that around. And there we are, the big reveal. This is a capital ship which I wanted to sort of work on, and you might recognize some parts of it from something I was doing before. This part, for instance, was an old toy from a Battlestar Galactica toy. And I bought this online some time ago. I wanted to make a capital ship out of it, but the ship itself I wasn't happy with it, so I took it apart and left it. And I've come back to it when the right piece came along, and the right piece was this other Star Wars ship, which is the Y-wing from the Rogue One movie. So as you can see, I've flipped it over, I've taken out the wings and used them as mandibles to come out to the front, and I've joined it into the back of the ship there. That's underneath there, and now I'm happy with the shape, and now it's coming along. So I'm going to spend some time now looking at this and trying to get it to work better. So, and I think it is working better. I'm quite happy with this. I've just put some greeblies. I've just started to put greeblies onto it, and yeah. So this is going to be a Star Wars capital ship. It is going to be a Star Wars in the set of the Star Wars universe, I think. Just turning it around a bit, and you can see the back of it. Oop. I'm going to fix a nice stand to it as well. So this is going to be yeah, set in the Star Wars universe. That's what it looks like at the back. And what I've decided and what I've been doing is fabricating is this. Now this again came from an old Star Wars Star Destroyer toy. It's not the model, it's a toy, but it's got very nice detail on it. Better than a usual toy, especially the front part. It's got lovely detail on it. So I'm going to put this onto the capital ship. If I just turn it around. Now I wanted it to continue to have the sleekness. You see, it looks very sleek and very, very fast. And if I put the thing up there, oops, it's fallen over. It kind of loses the sleekness a bit. But if I place it further down, I think it retains the sleekness. So it's where I place the conning tower that matters, and I think if I place it right the way down, further down, it'll have the sleekness that I'm looking for. Just about there, if you can see what I mean. Right, well that's the idea anyway. So that's what I'll be working on over the weekend. See? It's fallen down a bit, but you can see the idea. So that's going to be the sleekness. So The scale will be in line with one of the Star Destroyer models. I think it's a 172 scale or thereabouts. But no, it's probably no. It's what about? It's one 400 scale. I think is the scale I'm looking at. You will correct me, of course, but that's the scale I'm looking at. All right. Anyway, whatever scale it is, that's the scale I'm working towards. But I think it's going to look quite interesting. The issue will be that the scale of detail on this part of the ship is not the same scale of detail on this part of the ship, and that's obvious because this is a toy Y-wing and this is a toy Battlestar Galactica, and of course the two scales don't marry up, so I've got to have to try and do something with the detailing to make it look as if the whole thing is of the same scale, if you understand what I'm talking about. Oh, well, this is only underneath. I've got a broken up snow speeder, which I've also broken up to give the undercarriage, but you'll see that a little bit later on. Right, well, there you are. That's where we are at the moment. And I think this is going to look interesting, and I think this is going to work as a capital ship. So, onward and upward. Let's continue. So, in this session, I have been, as you can see, fabricating the inside of the ship, um, adding pieces which I'm going to obviously at some point join up with detailing. But this is just to bulk out the inside of the ship with in-scale pieces from the toy Star Destroyer, which adds smaller scale detailing and puts the thing into a better scale, and down the side as well. And I've also added the conning tower as well. So there you are. That's what it looks like at the moment, and I think that does work. That does work as a ship. Or also starting to panel the sides with other little bits of greeblies that I found from a Ventor class Star Destroyer, an old model of that which I took apart. So I might have to go out and buy myself another load of either a Star Destroyer which I can cannibalize for this particular build, or more battleship parts, probably battleship parts, um, and to see if how much I can put onto it. But yeah, so basically there you are. That's the fabrication. Oh, I'll turn it around like that. The profile looks quite good. I think the profile works. Obviously, as I say, lots of gaps to fill. Now I'm not sure whether to fill this as these gaps here as a single sheet of paneling, or to add lots of greebly styles the same way as there. So you'd have a kind of an insert with greeblies and then more paneling coming down to meet it. I'm not sure. We'll see what I can actually get away with. But yeah, I think in terms of scaling now, the scale is beginning to sort of work, and rather happy with that ship. I'm gonna call it. Well, I'm not sure exactly what I'm gonna call it yet. Something the Invictus, perhaps, or the Devastator, something like that. But yeah. Okay, onward and upward. Let's continue we've got a long way to go, and a lot of detailing to do on it, and a lot of filling in to do on it. But we're making a start and making a headway, and the general shape is beginning to take form. So rounding off the day with a little bit more fabrication, I'm starting to build up the side pieces here. They're not mandibles, but they're the side pieces here. Basically, I've left myself the option, although it's bulked it up a bit, I've left myself the option of putting an insert along here of greeblies, similar to the ones down here, so that I carry on the idea of very, very tiny levels of detailing along that area there, and possibly into here as well. on that side, and the other side is more or less the same. Around the back, I have been building up the side areas around the conning tower. I'm going to build this across so that it's all one piece. I'll lose a little bit of detail down here, but that's okay. I'll sacrifice that because I think it looks better with this area here built up. Sorry, yeah, built up around here. So I shall build up this area here, and underneath, I'll just turn it round so you can see underneath. I'm having to lay it on the side so you can see, but underneath you can see how I've built up underneath. This was another Battlestar Galactica cowling, which I bought ages and ages and ages ago. It happened to be just that piece, but it seems to fit quite nicely on the underside, and I've built up the back side there. So if I can turn it round, you can get some idea what it looks like. There, that's what it looks like from the underside, like that. So it's coming together. Oh, I'll put it back again. I need to get another stand and put it on a stand. Oh, and also the underside of those, building up this area here. So I've more or less got a lot of the blank spaces, the negative spaces, covered and filled in, and now I just have to look at filling in the detailing around those areas. And I also found a stand which I can possibly use to put the model on. It could just rest on top of that, which is quite nice, and it appears to be floating in space, so that's going to work, I think, as well. So I'll keep that to one side and use that as a stand at the last minute. Yeah, that'll work as a stand, I think. Okay, so that's the end of today's work. I've got a bank holiday weekend coming up, and for those of you in other parts of the world, you'll know that we've got another bank holidays this coming May, and one of them, of course, is because we're getting ourselves a new king. So I shall be utilising that time, not being at work. I'm not going to brave the big crowds going down to say hello to the new king. I shall be up here in my attic developing one of my capital ships, which is the king of capital ships. All right, onward and upward. Enough of that. Let's get on with the thing. So moving on, this is day 2, well, no, day 3 of the long holiday, bank holiday weekend, and what I've done is been working today while intermittently looking at the telly to see the coronation. Why not? It's fascinating. If you haven't seen it, it's what we do best, I guess. But anyway, while I've been watching that, I've been doing this as well, and moving on and producing some stuff on the capital ship build and adding detail. And this is the what I've been doing. As you can see, just simply getting hold of very, very small pieces of Star Destroyer models and other kits, and filling in gaps and holes around the main hull here. And as you fill in bits, other gaps and holes start to appear, so you've got to start thinking about filling in those bits as well. But that's okay, because the more little gaps there are, the gaps get smaller and smaller and are filled with more and more smaller bits, thus adding finer detail to the ship in the first place. And basically that's what I've been doing. So the whole thing, when you step back, look at it from afar, it begins to look like the ship is full of fine detail, which of course a ship of that size would look. I'll just turn it round. So yeah, and the idea is to try and produce finer detail so we don't get dramatic sort of what I would call drop-offs. So here you've got a case in point where one piece starts and then there's a gap and then another piece starts. Well, here you're trying to fill it in with finer detail so that you get a smooth graduation from one piece to another, and the whole thing starts to come together on smaller and smaller detail. But you produce lots of little gaps which you then got to fill in. That's fine. We're finding out where the holes are and putting the detail in the back as well, like that. And I'm quite happy with the engines, how the engines are looking now. With these of course are the innards of old cassette tapes. I always knew that my cassette tapes would come in handy one day, and I've kind of cannibalized quite a lot of them to get this shape. And I'm not so totally unsure that the designers of the original models, when they were creating the starships, were actually not looking at cassette tape innards, because I'm pretty sure that the innards look that way, or at least resemble that. I've also been working on underneath, and you can see how the detailing has been done underneath with pipe work. These are from an old Battlestar Galactica toy, which I knew I would one day use eventually. So you're not going to see too much of that unless I put it on a high standard, which you can be able to watch it, look at it underneath. But it's good to know that it's there. And the happy coincidence is, of course, that it's actually in scale with the Revel Star Destroyer, which I picked up and I was going to use. Hang on, I'll try and straighten it out a bit more. I picked it up and I was going to cannibalize it for the main ship, but I then started putting it together. I thought, oh hell, I'll just put it together, because what I might do is put this in a kind of diorama with the with the Star Destroyer supporting this rather larger Star Destroyer, which I would call a kind of, I don't know, perhaps it's a fleet ship, a fleet flagship, rather than this ordinary Star Destroyer, which isn't a fleet ship. Well, it was a part of the fleet, but it wouldn't be a flagship. This would be the flagship of the fleet, and then you'd get the smaller, perhaps 3 or 4 smaller Star Destroyers with it. So if I can get the painting right and the colour right, I think it would look right. And incidentally, I have with the smaller Star Wars ship, I have also put in my cassette tapes innards into the engines, and I think it sets them off quite nicely. I think it works quite nicely on that one. The toy, the Revel toy, was an old kit which someone was sort of giving away on Facebook Marketplace, and it came with a few things that were missing. Most notably, the innards. But I don't mind, because to be perfectly honest, I can. It was never going to be. It was going to be a display piece, not a toy. So I can, work around that and use that, and perhaps just fill it in. So that's not a problem. But anyway, it does work in scale with my other capital ship there. So yeah, so we won't worry about the Star Destroyer for the moment. We will continue working on the main flagship, and a lot more work to do on it, but work continues. Okay, so I've reached a bit of a hiatus with the capital ship, which I'm actually going to call the Invictus, by the way. I've decided overnight it's going to be called the Invictus. Yes, the hiatus being that it's working all the way around here with the detailing, and even around here with the detailing, but as soon as I get to here, that's when it's not working at all. And I'm not happy. I wasn't happy with the bits that I'd put on here, so I've taken them off. And what I've decided to do is stop on the ship at the moment, and I've ordered from eBay 2 more of these toy Star Destroyers. Now, as I say, they're not the models; these are the toy Star Destroyers. And the reason I've ordered the toy ones is, if you look, the level of greebly detail on it is a lot more pronounced. It's got a higher definition, because if I go over to the model, the Revel model, I don't think that the definition on the greebly detail is as pronounced as the detailing on this and on the toy here. And I think in terms of what I want it to look like from a distance, that detailing level is better, because I can do more with it, and especially when I paint it I can get more definition into it. Now, it's possibly because there is obviously a difference in scale, but the Revel, unless of course you were using the Bandai kit, which obviously has a lot more detail in it, I think for the scale, and it is preventing the tooling of the machine, of the tooling of this model is not as great as say a Bandai, obviously, and the level of detail isn't as good. Look at the detailing on the conning tower there, and then the level of detailing on the conning tower here. It's a lot more pronounced. So the little toy has better definition. So that's why I've ordered 2 more on eBay. It's cost me a little bit, but I think it's worth it, because what I'm going to do is cannibalize the model, the 2 models, and then begin to and continue to work downwards using those cannibalized parts. Continue to work downwards into this area down here. So that's what I'm going to do. So that's why I'm taking a breather. I'm taking a little breather on the model, because I think it'll be worth it waiting for those parts to come in. As I've ordered them last night, it shouldn't take too long, a couple of days, hopefully no more than a week for it to come in. So by the time this video is posted, you'll be getting about 4 to 5 weeks worth of work in one video, which people have been asking for longer videos anyway, so hopefully this will work. And in the meantime, as a kind of interlude, I'm going to do a little bit of work on my Corvette here, which, as you can see, I started a long time ago. I've chopped off the top bit, and I'm going to put this section in here, which I think works a lot better than the top bit I had before. You'll see it when it's all done. This is just basically some cleanup work on this Corvette to make it a little bit more Star Warsy, a little bit more blockade runner-ish. But yes, that's what I'm going to do today, because that's the I don't want to waste a day's modelling since I've got the time off. So I'll be doing that on this one, and I'm also going to be cleaning up some of the work on this one, which I've also taken the top off. This is going to be my my big heavy-duty truck in space, so to speak. But you'll see more of that in a minute when I put some more greeblies onto it. This is just basically to use up the time to get these 2 back on course and back started, because when I finish with the capital ship, I think I'm going to go on to these 2. So that's what I'm going to be doing today as a kind of interlude, and I'll show you what I've done by the end of the day on these 2 ships. Right, well, let's continue while we're waiting for my new Star Wars bits to come in. So this is what I've been doing this afternoon, tidying up this particular model and creating more of a better front to it, I think, and tidying up all the innards. And the nice thing about working with large-scale Nerf pieces is that it really doesn't require too much greebly add-on, so to speak, because most of the detail, of these pieces produce their own. It's like having its own texture and its own greeblies anyway. You don't really need to add too much more to it. What I've done is at the front made a kind of cockpit into this area here. So once it's painted properly, the back area is actually translucent. So hopefully it'll look like a window. And yeah, so I'm quite happy with that so far. It'll all come together, of course, when it's been primed. But happy with the with what I've got there, which is nice. So that's the first thing I've been working on this afternoon. And the other one is the Corvette, which again will look much better when it's been primed, but you get the similar idea of changing the front and putting that piece on it there. Makes it look much more like a Star Wars Corvette than it did before. Again, I haven't put a translucent part into the cockpit area there. That's going to be just silvered up to make it look as if it's like it's a cockpit. But I think that works better as a design. And again, as I was saying, you don't need to add too many bits of greeblies because the actual Nerf gun itself supplies its own greeblies and its own hypertexture to it. So again, once it's all primed, it's going to look good. So that's what I've been working on this afternoon, just purely while I've been waiting for my other parts to arrive onto the regarding the capital ship. Although I haven't totally forgotten the capital ship this afternoon, and was able to find another piece which could actually replace what I took off before. That I think makes it a much better shape. So yeah, so I've actually been able to join this piece together onto the main hull using this piece here, and it's the same on the other side, and the thing begins to work better, merge into one another. Again, once it's all primed and more detail is added, the whole thing will be able to work together as a whole piece. I'm hoping that I can find a better piece than this, because this is now beginning to jar me. I don't like this bit, but I'm going to keep it on for now, just in case I can't find anything better suited. Anyway, yeah. Oh, and I've also been working on the side pieces as well. Again, merging this piece into this piece. Whoops, woo! Merging this piece into this piece by putting other greeblies along there to bring it down in a gradual slope. Right. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. I think you can see what I'm saying makes sense. And as I bring it out from the FRA, you get the idea. Right. Well, onward and upward. As I say, it's going to be a long process this, but hopefully by the weekend I'll have the bits that I wanted, and then we can continue with the build. Okay, so I've just come back from a short break, and this is the last day I've spent on the model before going back to work, and then of course I've got some more bank holidays at the end of the month. So we continue with the model, and as you can see, what I've done, my eBay order for the toy Star Destroyer came in, so I have radically altered the front bit there, because as I said to you just previously, I wasn't happy with what it was looking like. Now it's looking a lot better. I think I've redesigned that. I've put things around the side, detailing around the side. Still, we need to build it up more. We're still not there. We're still obviously not there, because we've got to fill in a lot more gaps. I was a bit annoyed with this area here. It had dropped. This piece that came off the back wasn't in line with that, so I broke it off and reconnected it, and now the thing has a better profile, as you can see from that angle. Okay. Yes, the detritus on my bench has got worse. I'm gonna have to do something about that. Anyway, the point is though that the ship is really taking shape now and coming along nicely. And I'm working on the underneath as well, as you can see, just to develop that bit there. Now what I'm going to do is, you can't actually see it on that angle, although you might just be able to see it. You can see how the angle is slightly wrong. It goes along, dips, and then goes up this way. So I want to work on this angle so that the whole thing merges into a gradual slope, which I'm going to have to find a piece for, possibly finding a piece and then putting filler on it. But all told, I am happy with what we're looking at the moment. And yes, the capital ship is getting there. Yeah, it's beginning to, well, it's really beginning to take on the scale that I wanted to have. It's retaining the scale that I wanted to have without looking without having pieces look out of scale. Let's put it that way. All right. Well, we will continue, and the next thing is to just continue filling in the gaps, putting in more pieces, and then I think a coat of primer will be in order to see where we are at the time. But yeah, this is really taking shape. All right, let's continue. So at the end of today, it's good to step back for a second and just to see what you've achieved. And funnily enough, while I was filming my last entry, the post arrived with another Star Wars toy, which I had ordered on eBay. So that immediately got incorporated into the capital ship, which is the top bit here. So now I'm really happy with the profile, and I think that yeah, that's as far as we've come today. That's the profile from the side. Yeah, happy with this now. It's beginning to really pop, I think, and we've got ourselves a good capital ship. Happy with this now. Obviously, we have still got lots of gaps, which are going to need to be filled, because I need to have the whole thing flowing one into another. But the gaps are filling up, which is good, and the whole thing is beginning to look, and the scale is being kept, which is what I wanted in the first place. So yeah, I'm going to call it a day for today, and we are happy with the work that we've done today, which has been quite a lot, but onward and upward, we haven't finished, and happy to continue working with the scale and getting even finer and finer and finer details onto this thing as we can get, but we're getting there. Right, well, let's continue, and as we continue, we will get finer and finer into it. So more work done on the superstructure of the capital ship. Really just spent the whole day adding small detail, and it's been quite laborious because I've had to go into the detail very closely, adding very small bits, as you can see, just trying to bulk it out and making sure all the time that I add small bits that it's in scale with the existing stuff that I'm putting on there. But if I pull back, I think I'm getting there. So it has been rather slow work today, but yeah, happy with that. It's taking really nice, taking shape now, looking as if it's all meant to be where it's supposed to be, so to speak. Now there are some of you that might sort of be saying, well, you know, you've lost all the, because I had an A-wing, as you know, underneath it, and all of that's been lost now because it's been covered up. Well, yes, it has, but sometimes you have to sort of get hold of a kind of basic shape, which in this case was the A-wing, in order for you to build up around it, rather like putting in a kind of wire maquette if you're building up a sculpture around it. And you could say that the A-wing was the skeleton, and then all of this bit on top of it is the muscle and the skin, which produces the detailed effects on top. But I think that's working. I think that's working nicely. So I'm getting there with the top part. Still got to go underneath, but I think it works quite nicely underneath. It will work quite nicely underneath, because you can see it when it's because the stand I think works as well. I painted the stand as well black, as you can see, just so I get some idea. And yeah, I think that's working nicely. So we continue, and we'll see how far we can go. Yeah, we're getting there. Now I just wanted to show you something else today, and that's my pirate ship. Yeah, my pirate airship. And just to, you know, this is something that I started, as you know, ages and ages and ages ago. It's going to become my bête noire, I think, because well, I still haven't finished it, although I have now started to add on other bits to it, because I really want to make this my kind of well, it will be my biggest ship that I've ever made in both senses of the word, and I'm going to finish it as soon as I finish the capital ship. This is the next thing I want to do and move on to. And what I've done is I have purchased one of these, and that is now going to go onto the back of the ship like that, to give it more of a galleon kind of, sea galleon kind of look. You'll see when it's done. So yes, this is my next project, the next thing I want to finish off. I really want to finish this off, because this will be over 18 months in the making. Started from a very small thing and became something really big. So this is a preview of the next project to finish, and it's in my son's room at the moment, which he doesn't know about, but he will now, because he's seen the video. But I will get it out of his room when he comes home and have to put it somewhere else. Anyway, that's the next project that I will be working on after my capital ship. But onwards with the capital ship. Right, so here it is out in the garden, where I've just given it its first coat of primer to try and bring it all together, and I think it's not looking too bad. The primer certainly marries all the details together, and I think that yeah, that's looking pretty good on all sides. I'm just going to move it around and you can see what I mean. And I've also been working on the bottom as well to give it a profile, but it's in darkness at the moment, so I'll move that around and you can see what that looks like from underneath as well. I'll just move the camera around a bit and you can see what the ship is looking like at the moment. It's not looking too bad. So that's the first coat of primer, just so to bring it all together and I can see it as it's going to finally appear. But obviously you can also see all the little gaps that I need to continue to fill. And what's happening is that basically I've run out of parts, so I'm going to have to wait for a bit until I get some better parts, or some parts which are in scale, because that's the important thing. It's no point putting any kind of part onto it. I need to find the parts that are going to be in scale with the rest of the ship, otherwise it's not going to work. It's going to look ridiculous. Let me just show you the underside. So if I lay it a little bit on its side, you can see what I'm trying to achieve underneath it. And the underside has got the same kind of detail, but it's this area here which lets it down. I've got nothing for this area to join it from this part to this part. Nothing at the moment, so that's what I mean by having to wait until the right parts come along. I might have to go out and buy small World War II battleships or something like that to start to detail the underside here, because that's what needs to be done to keep in scale with the rest of it. But on the whole, I think the thing is looking, see from that angle, you can see what I'm hoping to achieve. If it's at an angle there, you can see there, yeah? Anyway, I'll put it back up again so you can have a look more closely. But on the whole, I'm happy with yeah, what the shape is looking like now. It's beginning to really pop as a capital ship, and the so putting the primer on it obviously brings it all out, which is good. Okay, well, onward and upward. We will continue if I can get hold of the parts. Otherwise, well, I might have to revert back on looking at the skyship for a little bit until the parts come together. But anyway, that's what we've got so far, and yeah, not looking too bad at all. So here it is, back on the bench, and yeah, as you can see, it's coming along. I've Well, as I say, I've taken a break from my capital ship because, as I said, I need to get parts for it. So I'm working on this monster here, and the reason I want to get it all done as soon as I can is, as I think I mentioned, I've got an opportunity of putting it into the magazine publication, um, the Scratch Built series for airships and anti-gravity. That's volume 5. So I really want to get this finished so that it will go in, and it's my anti-gravity airship, pirate ship kind ship. So as I told you before, I've refabricated this area at the back. So what this fin was up here, and I've replaced it down here to make it more of part of the anti-gravity engine, which is going to be all greebled up in here with lots of wires and other bits and doodads. And then at the back here, we've got the, is this called the poop deck? Or the, I don't know, I'm not really good on nautical names, but this is the ship at the back. And then, of course, we've got some more sails. And I'm going to be doing the rigging for the ship as well. Lots of rigging. And then lots of um, bits and pieces hanging down, some pipe work and stuff like that. And then I'll show you the back. See, this really looks like at the back, and I'm going to make this a kind of cargo bay with bits of cargo and other things on it. So that will go in there, and then we've got to just tidy up all the gaps and stuff like that, and then all the painting work on it. I've stabilized it by putting in a new perspex stands on it to make it a lot more stable, because it was beginning to tilt at a dangerous angle downwards. It was coming off its moorings, so to speak. So I've readjusted that and done that. And yeah, so the thing's a lot more stable. Yeah, good. That's just testing it out there. So yeah, so here we are with the anti-gravity ship, and we'll continue with this for now, because as I say, I like to go backwards and forwards between models, and it gives my capital ship a rest, which I've got this far, and now I can really try to work to finish this one off. Right. So it's the end of the May bank holiday, and the end of my time modelling, and I have to say that I don't think I've done too badly this month, getting as much as I have been able to get done. So you can see that on the Skyship, I have been working today on fabricating the engine structure, the anti-gravity engine underneath, and you can see I've added quite a lot of greeblers and wires. One of the things you have to remember when you're adding wires and another, well, most or all greeblers, when you're adding detail like this, is the sense of gravity, and especially with the wiring and tubing, if you're adding these kind of things, remember where the sense of gravity is. And as you can see, that I've done it so that they're drooping and dripping over the model, which gives it a sense of realism rather than going straight or up the other way. This gives it, I think that if you add wiring like that, it looks as if the thing is in flight, and it has a particular weight and heaviness to it. But this is how I've been adding the stuff to it along here. I've also starting to fill in bits and pieces. This hasn't been stuck down yet, of course, because I've got to work inside it, and then I'll be slowly working my way along the model, filling in bits and pieces. I've got lots of little greeblers and things to put onto it so that it starts to look small and authentic. I'll just turn it around and you can see the other side. There's the other side of the model, adding that rather large piece there gives it a kind of texture, and again going along the top. So overall, that's the kind of shape. I think I mentioned before that I've got some little bits to put on, and things like this, the railings, which I will choose where on the model to put, so that it gives it a sense of scale. I mean, not there, I'm just giving that as an example, but I've got to try and find out where I'm going to put these railings to give it a sense that it's actually a functional object. And I think I also mentioned in the past that I'd found these little figures, which I'm going to dot around the ship in various places. I'll be painting them up, but they'll be rather insignificant in the sense of scale, but they will be dotted around so that when you look at the ship and you come across them, it gives the ship, again, I say, a sense of scale and of size. And I'll be putting them in various places around the ship itself, which is already looking quite big anyway. So there we are. So there's the sky ship. It's coming along. As I say, I've got to go back to the capital ship at some point, and once I've got some more in-scale parts for that, I'll be finishing that off. So this represents more or less a month of work, and I think from now on, because of work commitments and other bits and pieces, I'll probably only be posting once a month, giving you monthly updates rather than weekly updates or fortnightly updates. It's much easier, and also it means I can get more work done, and I can make bigger videos, longer videos for you to look at and take your time in watching. So although I haven't completed any particular model to conclusion, hopefully on the next video it'll show a month's work and bringing some models to conclusion on that. So this is a kind of to be continued kind of video. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. Keep watching, keep subscribing, and thanks again, guys. And again, I'll see you in probably about a month's time for the June update. All right. Goodbye now, everyone. See you soon.